The ending of The Way of Water was most likely the beginning of a new chapter for the Na'vi, especially since they still faced danger from the RDA's plans to grow on Pandora. There were fights, people died, and some mysteries weren't solved. In this video, we'll discuss how the ending of The Way of Water wrapped up some loose ends and set the stage for what'll happen in the upcoming movies. Let's begin. First off, what happens at the end of the movie? Some stories come to an end in The Way of Water. The growing conflict and tension between Jake Sully and Colonel Miles Quaritch, who's been after him and his family for the whole sequel, is resolved. Kiri can control Pandora's animals when connected to any part of Eywa. This is a very important fact. During the movie, the Metkayina hesitated to join Jake and Neytiri in their fight against the humans. But when they saw their way of life and the Tolkien were in danger, they quickly joined forces with Jake and Neytiri. Quaritch almost drowns after fighting Jake in the final battle, but Spider saves him just in time. Scoresby's plan to catch the Tolkien fails completely, and his ship's destroyed. This saves Pyakin's life. Before the story ends, the Sully family saddened by the death of Neteyam, who was killed when he was shot in the chest by Quaritch. Up next, how Jake reunites with his dead son in a new home for the Sullys. The Na'vi believe that no life's really lost when someone dies, so Neteyam's body's sent back to Eywa. When Jake connects his brain to the Metkayina's ancestral tree, he can see his dead son again. The connection brings back one of Jake's favorite memories of his son Neteyam, when he was young, and Jake was teaching him. The reunion of the father and son's sad, but it shows how everything's connected in Pandora, and how no one really dies. Jake will always be able to see his son because of this connection, even if he doesn't get to see him grow up. Neteyam's death tied the Sully family to the Metkayina clan for good. Even though the fight between Jake and Quaritch seems to be over, they decide to stay with them so they can be close to their son. At such a crucial time in their fight against the RDA, going back to the Ometikaya would be a step backward. Jake realized that they wouldn't be ready if he and his family stayed on the defense during the war between humans and Na'vi. Jake and Neytiri can work with the Metkayina and other water clans to be better prepared to fight Quaritch and the RDA in the future, now that they know what they're up against. Followed by Kiri's father and what's next for Quaritch. The question of Kiri's father was one of the biggest mysteries of this movie. Kiri's siblings thought it might have been a scientist who worked with Dr. Grace Augustine, but Kiri's special skills and bond with Eywa and the other Na'vi show that it was someone else. Because Grace is very close to the goddess, it's possible that Kiri's father's Eywa. This makes the most sense since Kiri's father probably isn't a Metkayina, since they hadn't been found yet in Avatar. If we find out who Kiri's father is, we might be able to figure out how she's connected to Eywa. Maybe there's another reason for it. Could this be a perfect beginning? Kiri will be the Na'vi version of Jesus if that's the case. Throughout the movie, Quaritch is driven by a desire for revenge, and it's likely that he'll keep trying to kill Jake Sully. But after a big loss, Colonel Quaritch might return to the RDA's base for a while, waiting until he has more soldiers and weapons to go after Jake again. This time he'll be angrier, which could make him more dangerous. Quaritch might also realize that he does care about Spider, especially since his son saved him from the depths of the ocean. This could change how he sees the mission, but his desire for revenge is likely to be stronger than any small feelings he might have for Spider. Not to mention, what did the ending really mean? The main theme of the movie is about becoming a parent and the real fear that comes with it. Jake and Neytiri's journey have a lot to do with this because they have to decide whether the Ometikaya or their families are more important to them. This idea can be seen in how Tonowari and Ronald treat their children and clan. When the Sullys first show up, they don't want to help them fight. Instead, they want to protect the Metkayina more than anything else. But things change when the children of Tonowari and Ronald are in danger. Avatar 2 shows how hard it is to be a parent, how decisions and points of view change when you have kids, and how scary it is to lose them. Moving on to the RDA's colonization. Avatar The Way of Water shows how colonizers like the RDA won't stop until they get what they want, even though there have been years of peace. This leads to the violent seizure and control of Pandora. Avatar 2 shows what colonization looks like in a world that isn't real, but is based on real history. The movie also looked at the need to be part of a group and feel like you belong. This is shown by the fact that the Sullys are uprooted from their home and at first don't feel connected to the Metkayina clan. When they finally accept them, the Sully family feels like they belong there more. This is especially true for Loak, who feels like an outsider both in his own family and among the Metkayina. It is also a theme in Pyakin's story, which shows how lonely it can be to be forced to leave a place that was once home. Now how Avatar The Way of Water's ending sets up the third movie. In the end, one part of the story is finished, but there are still a few loose ends. The way the movie ends suggests that there'll be bigger battles in the future, and that the tension between the RDA and the Na'vi will get worse, making humans even more hostile and violent. Loak might be in charge of the final battle in Avatar 5. His relationship with Rhea could also be a big part of the story and bring the Metkayina and the Ometikaya close together. Also introducing Amrita in The Way of Water, which is a yellow substance taken from the Tolkien, could be a key part of the sequels. The other water clans saw for themselves how violent and destructive humans can be. It's possible that they'll join the Metkayina and help Jake and his family fight against Quaritch. There's also tension between Spider and Neytiri, and the fact that Spider saved Quaritch's life won't go over well with her. This could lead to a fight between the two that won't end until the last Avatar sequels. Ultimately, The Way of Water prepares the next generation to lead the fight. Let's learn more about Neteyam's death. Jake has to see Neteyam's eyes close as he takes his last breath. Cameron said he was looking at parallel father-son stories between Jake and Neteyam, and he wanted Neteyam's death to make Jake more serious about the war. Jake has to face something when Neteyam dies. He spent the whole movie trying to get away from the battle. He thought it'd be best to stay hidden with the Metakaina, but Quaritch and the RDA found him anyway. In the last shot, Jake faces the camera and seems ready to fight back. Coming up, Spider's journey in the franchise. Spider is a human who was born on Pandora as Miles. After the events of the first movie's events, the RDA left him behind because babies can't stay in cryogenic stasis for a long deep space trip. After the last RDA defeat, Spider decides to go with Jake and the Na'vi, but he saves Quaritch's life instead. Quaritch asks his son to come with him, but Spider snarls and runs away, making the storyline for these characters more complicated in the future. Spider was already different from Neytiri. After Neteyam died, she held him at knife point in front of Quaritch. What does she think of Spider now that he's been traveling with a man she calls a demon? Next, what themes could Avatar 3 focus on? Avatar 3 could talk more about his growing tension with the colonizers and how it affects the people of Pandora. In The Way of Water, Captain Scoresby went after the Tulkun, even though they were important to the Metakaina, and Avatar 3 could go into this more. The time period of Avatar 3 will be close to The Way of Water. Cameron made both movies quickly, sometimes at the same time. In different interviews with EW, the actors talked about starting to film scenes for the second movie in the morning before switching to scenes for the third. Finally, release date and cast returns for Avatar 3. The current plan for Avatar 3 is to come out in 2024. The movie was held up for a long time, and its release date was pushed back more than once. This was because of many things, like COVID-19 shutting down production. James Cameron wanted to make sure that all 5 scripts for the Avatar sequels were ready before starting production. The delays also helped the visual effects team because they had more time to work on the sequels. At first, Avatar 3 was supposed to come out in 2015, and then it was supposed to come out in 2020. Ultimately, 20th Century Studios chose 2024, which came out 2 years after its predecessor. Apart from the ones who's coming back, Avatar 3 will have a lot of new characters. The role of Harong, who will be in the last 3 sequels, was given to Una Chaplin.
Continuing on with the war, so there's always people to heal. And in dates, I end up in a hospital with Ben Chaplin, which is quite nice. No complaints there.
David Thewlis will also be in the movie.
Take the character and run with it to that extent.
I've no idea about that. I don't know anything about that. I honestly don't. I don't know what you're talking about. So I don't know. I don't read.
He'll play a Na'vi character with no name, who will play a big role in Avatar 3 and the movies that come after it. Michelle Yeoh, who was last seen in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, we'll give this new, 20-something-year-old a chance and see what she can do. She could be standing in the corner crying the whole time because these guys, it's not fun.
Will play Dr. Karina Moog, a scientist in the third Avatar movie, and the ones that come after it. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the meaning of the ending of The Way of Water? Do you think it sets up the next installment well? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one!